Hello, luthier friends. I thought I'd do something a little bit different tonight and share what I've been doing with my latest project here. I mentioned last time that I had picked up um, 5 old violins from an estate, effectively an estate, I guess. And so I've been going through them one at a time and putting them into serviceable or usable condition, new strings and bridges and pegs, whatever they needed. So I've come to this one here, ugly old violin, and I guess so I've been doing quite a bit of work on it, and I guess it remains to be seen now whether it's going to be an ugly old violin or whether it's going to be an old classical beauty. It'll depend how it performs, I guess. So the fellow that whose estate this was, he was obviously a fiddler from the way he had all the violins set up. They were, the strings and bridges and nuts and everything were set up for a fiddling style. So his name was Nairn Menzies. So that's what I'm naming this one. This one is Nairn. So I wanted to, well, first of all, I started looking through the F-holes, and I noticed that there was quite a bit of damage and wear where the sound post went on the back. So I had to take it apart for that. Plus there was a couple of cracks right here on the F-holes. I had to take it apart to fix all that. And so up until now, I've all the regraduation work that I've done has been on newer violins, so new wood, and I've had some pretty reasonable results by regraduating them. So I thought this was a good opportunity to see what would happen if I regraduated an old violin, and this is obviously a pretty old violin. So I had to fix the spot where the sound post fit. Where's my sound post? Yeah, it actually kind of glued in place there. So the sound post would sit right about there. And surprisingly enough, on the back, this maple was hard as a rock. And luckily I had bought a small finger plane with a serrated edge so that I could actually plane this hard maple. It took a lot of work, and I think I almost had a blister on my thumb by the time I was done the back here. Probably spent about 6 hours or more planing on this, planing and scraping and sanding. The back, now I used a pattern. This is one that I picked off the internet. A pattern of a Stradivarius. I'm not sure which model that was, but I think I got it pretty close. I had to reduce the thickness on the back plate quite a bit. And one thing I did notice, or one thing that I took care, was to make, by the corner blocks here, I reduced the thickness there down to about 1.5. I didn't quite hit 1.5, but 1.6 millimeters in these 4 spots. Plus, on the treble side in here, I reduced that down to about 1.6 millimeters. Everything else just had to come down, I think it was about 0.3 millimeters or so. Wasn't too bad. The top, now, when I took it apart, I should have taken the fingerboard off first, and then I might have noticed, or I might not have, that they had the top, the belly, they had it pegged front and back. And so when I took it off, I actually cracked the top plate, the belly. I cracked it right here where that peg was. And so it's not too easy to see, but relatively easy to fix. But so I did fix it, and I put these little cleats on it to reinforce it. Re-glued and reinforced these little cracks along the F-holes. And where the 2 halves of the plate fit together, it had evidence that it might have been splitting, so I put another reinforcement there. But what I did notice though was that there was much more damage on the top plate where the sound post went than on the back plate, and I didn't have to reduce the thickness of the top plate as much as the back plate. So what I ended up having to do was put what they call a sound post patch on, and it's never done one before, and they're quite a tricky thing to do, and I don't know if I did a great job of it. But so what you end up doing is you gouge the plate out, make an impression, and I didn't have very good chisels to do that, so I ended up having to use a knife and sandpaper and whatever. And then you fashion a spruce patch of that same contour, and then fit it into that depression. You glue it in place, and then reduce it down to the level of the plate. Very, very, very time consuming, and I hope I did a good enough job. I guess, yeah, maybe we'll never know. But so it's going to be pretty interesting. I'd dearly have loved to take the sound or the bass bar off so that I could have graduated the whole thing, but I'm so gun shy to take that off after the experience I had on the last couple of violins where I ended up basically damaging the top, the belly. So I didn't take it off. I just reduced the thickness. I didn't have to reduce it that much anyways. So I'm to the point now where I'm ready to glue, and I'll show you here my signature on the inside of the violin. We won't be seeing that again. Boy, there was a pile of dust in here. Top probably hadn't been off in a long time. So I've got all my clamps in place. Just from experience now, I've kind of learned what I need, what I'm about to glue. A damp cloth is always nice for wiping up excess glue. I've got my brushes selected, and I've had the glue pot on for about an hour now. The glue pot is preset at about 165 Fahrenheit, I think. And I've got the consistency of the glue to where I want it. And again, this is animal hide glues that we're using. So what else I can tell you? I've got all my clamps ready, and I've discovered, again through experience, that while you have to work relatively quickly, you don't have to panic. So we'll apply a level of glue, or a layer of glue on the bottom part, on the side ribs, and then we'll put a layer on here, put lots on the front and back blocks and the corner blocks, and then make sure we get it in place. I've dry fit this thing a whole bunch of times now to make sure that everything is fitting nicely. I've got a mark here where they had it pegged, so I've got a mark to line up. This one, it just seems to drop into place really nicely. So it should go fairly well. And once we've got the glue on and a few clamps in place, then kind of the pressure is off, because it won't set up that quickly that, you know, by the time you get the clamps on, it'll be fine. So yeah, I'll just go to it. So one thing, the glue pot, it's sort of like a double boiler. There's water on the outside jacket. Now if I lift that lid, by the time I've done some gluing, that glue cools off that quickly that it'll actually start to get a little bit thick on you. So there again, you've got to work fairly quickly. One thing I should point out, when you do take a violin apart, at least in my experience, you always get some splintering of the wood. Like some of the top plate will adhere to the ribs, and I've tried painstakingly I've tried to maintain all those little slivers of wood, even to the point of where I had some come off the back. I saved all those pieces, fit them all back together, and glued them back in place, sanded it down so it all fits nicely. And once you've got the glue on it and you put it back together, it's like one piece of wood again. So yeah, I'll start. A little bit of excess glue isn't a big deal. That can always be scraped off later. I discovered that a little piece of spruce, like a bamboo, or I guess it's bamboo, little stick of bamboo sharpened up, works great for taking off excess glue, and you can't damage the varnish or any wood with it that way. So pick up all these little tidbits by watching YouTube videos. Quite a bit of glue on the front and back blocks. Yep, I spent a lot of hours sanding on this baby, scraping and sanding and planing. Pretty relaxing though, and I get to put on some tunes and sit here and just chill out by the hour. I'm not sure how long this has taken me, but I guess it probably can't be more than a minute or so to do this, to get that glue applied. Close the pot up, and now I can drop this into place. And luckily, like I say, they have that pin on the front. I've got my mark on the back. And yeah, well, that fits pretty nice. So now I can start putting some clamps on. Just get a few strategic, critical ones in place here. Put them on loosely first. Make sure everything's still in place. Kind of hard to go wrong on this once you get the glue in place and a few key clamps in place. We'll run and tighten them up later. Let's get a bunch on. So now I guess we'll let that set overnight. By tomorrow, we'll be able to take these clamps off. I'll be able to start adding the sound post in. I'll have to cut a new one because I've reduced the plate thickness by quite a bit. And then I'm probably ready to start putting the fingerboard on and the nut and saddle. I'm going to start this violin out with Pro Arte strings, D'Addario. They're kind of a medium quality string that it softens things up a bit. I'm looking for something with kind of a deep low timbre with good projection. So we'll try these. I mean, they'll give me an indication of the ability of the violin or the capabilities of it. And if I think it's good enough, maybe I'll upgrade to something a little better. Anyways, I hope somebody has found this of some interest. And the next video, maybe we'll see how this turned out. Thanks for watching. So here I am with the Nairn Menzies. This is Nairn Menzies 1 because actually I did 2 of them. And it's ready to play. Sort of, it's interesting. It's actually pretty good quality. I'm going to play a scale here for you. Very even across all 4 strings. It doesn't have the low kind of a projecting timbre that is nice to see in a violin, but you know, I have to say initially my initial thoughts on this one is that Mr. Menzies knew what he was doing when he was selecting violins for his style of play, because this is it's sort of a bright loud violin, very loud, and would be very well suited to fiddle play. So well, just for the heck of it, I'll play one tune. And just as I said on my blog, I'm not a violin maker, nor am I a luthier. I'm a violin enthusiast, and so it goes with my playing. I'm not actually a player, I'm just an enthusiast. There we go. This violin could be yours. It's for sale now. I'm asking $400 for it. And I think it's a pretty good buy because it's a pretty good quality violin. Thanks for watching The Prairie Fiddler.